I start making videos. I tell myself the video's only going to be 5-10 minutes. It goes on to be an hour. And I want to listen to Glenn Beck. And then when I get to this point where I don't get Glenn Beck on the radio, and I also don't get phone reception, so I can't listen to the Bluetooth through my phone on iHeartRadio or whatever it is. So I'm stuck with no Glenn Beck. I didn't remember to download anything. Oh, I have some things I download I could listen to. It's still better. At this point, I should.
In a half mile at Long Mountain Circle, take the second exit onto the Palisades Interstate Parkway South Ramp to New York.
It should be mashpia. I should be serving, giving a message, helping others. So, in any event, what are we talking about here today? How do we find...
Exit the traffic circle onto the ramp. Continue on Palisades Interstate Parkway South for a half mile.
What am I going to talk about today in this video? This video I wanted to talk about this other video. Oh, I don't remember the name of the station, of the YouTube channel. Very interesting YouTube channel. Very out-of-the-box type of thinking.
In a quarter mile, merge onto Palisades Interstate Parkway South.
I don't even remember the guy's name. Jimmy? I don't know. He mentioned a lot of things.
Continue on Palisades Interstate Parkway South for 34 miles.
A lot of the things he mentions again and again. He always says, well, I don't know, but I watched like 10 of his videos yesterday, something like that. I'm like, maybe not that many, I don't know, but very interesting presentator, and he talks about how everything you learned in school is wrong, and he talks about how human civilization is much older than we thought, than we got taught in school, and how how 13,000 years ago and 11.5 thousand years ago, there were cataclysmic events that wiped out human civilization, meaning they had civilizations before that were far advanced to ours, and then there was this reset button that started everything all over again. And that sounds, of course, to me, the first thing you would say is that sounds like the story of Noah and the flood. And he has all kinds of archaeological things that he discusses. He was discussing, but he also discusses modern things. He discusses Tesla. He discusses things about Donald Trump. He discusses all kinds of interesting things to discuss. But the thing is what about this number of 13,000 years ago, which goes back before Adam? And so according to our traditions, Adam was created some 5,700 and coming up to 78 years ago. And so how do we reconcile things that would seem to indicate that, and Noah's flood was of course later than that. It was about Adam lived 930 years, and it was around this year 1600 from creation that the flood was. So we're talking about about 4,000 years ago was when there was supposed to be the flood of Noah. And so how do we reconcile this with numbers of 13,000 and 11,000 years ago? Now the biblical literalist would say, well, they're just making a mistake and it was really 4,000 years ago. But I have a different approach. And this fits in with, this is something that's new to me personally. I mean, I've known about this for years, but I struggled with it. And we try to reply while we're still taping. I don't know how this works. Alright. Whatever. I really want to answer my wife right away, but it's not working. I don't know. Did that work? Oh, she'll know what I wrote. I wrote TGE space NKS or whatever. I don't know. She'll know I meant thanks. Right? So anyway, recently I saw a video from one of my favorite YouTube channels, and one of the most popular ones on this subject is Tyler from Secure Team 10, who I want to wish him congratulations. He just reached 1 million subscribers, and that's really awesome, and I wish him all the best. And you know, he's very nervous that Google is gonna take down his videos or take down his advertising, and I pray and hope that he should be well and he shouldn't lose. Excuse me. That being said, he usually talks about UFOs, but sometimes he talks about other things. So recently he made a video about shoe prints that have been found in rock strata going back millions of years, if not billions of years, you know, things that are quite obviously artificial that pop up in places where they don't belong, and how to reconcile these things. And how this one particular shoe print was very obviously a shoe that was made with technology well advanced of our own technology, and I think they said it was in like a Paleozoic strata, so before the dinosaurs, according to how science understands dinosaurs and everything. So he said he's beginning to believe that human civilization goes in cycles and has been around for much longer than we have thought. He discussed the cyclical nature of human civilization and society. Now, spoiler alert here. Maybe I shouldn't mention it, but I just love this movie. Roger Corman made a movie, it came out in 1957 or 1958, called Teenage Caveman. And it seems, you know, from the beginning to just be this plain old caveman movie, you know, like 1 million BC. It mostly has stock footage from 1 million BC, and a lot of it, which is cool. I like that, you know. Remember, one of my other favorite YouTube channels is the Dark Corners movie reviews, and they review some of my favorite movies, all these B movies. Some movies I never heard of, and they introduce me to new movies I never heard of, and sometimes, and they come out of England, and they're really funny. And so, like, if you're a fan of like Mystery Science Theater 3000 or something like that, you will like these videos, the Dark Corner reviews, and they're very well made, much better than my videos I just make when I'm driving, you know. maybe I should get like a clip-on microphone. A friend of mine who watches the videos did give me a microphone, but it was a handheld microphone, so that doesn't really help. But does anybody know if I would get a clip-on microphone, would that help? I know someone did offer, I think, to give me a microphone. So anyway, in that video, in that movie, Teenage Cavemen, which incidentally they also just reviewed on Dark Corners, but maybe last year they reviewed a movie called Two Lost Worlds, and this movie is just a pirate movie, and it's not a very good one. And then at the end, they just took on a little bit of stock footage of 1 million BC that's totally incidental and has nothing to do with the plot. And so, the Dark Corners reviews, they said, Robin is his name from Dark Corners reviews. He said, I'm not upset that they used stock footage from 1 million BC. I'm upset that they didn't use enough of it. But here in Teenage Cavemen, they used plenty of stock footage from 1 million BC. It was very well done. It was a good, a lot of people hated that movie. I know Robert Vaughn was the star of that movie, and he said it was the worst movie he ever made. But Teenage Caveman originally was not titled Teenage Caveman, which I didn't know. He mentioned the original title, but I don't remember what he wanted. But because Roger Corman wanted to cash in on all of the teenage movies at the time, Teenage Frankenstein, I Was a Teenage Werewolf. There was also, after that, there was the Teenage Zombies, Teenagers from Outer Space. I Was a Teenage Werewolf was probably the best of those. Teenage Zombies was probably the worst. Teenagers from Outer Space was very low budget, and not very well produced, but I really like it. I think with what they had, they did a good job, and also the idea was actually pretty good, I think. But that's my own opinion. I'm starting to sound like Mormozine or something. I don't watch Mormozine. I know you could watch it, but I don't know. But his things, he's just sitting there and he's like talking about, movies, and these awful, disgusting movies, and like he's just like, oh, that was really good. He's probably high when he makes the movies. I don't know. But I mean, it has a kitsch value though to watch this guy on his YouTube channel anyway. But in any event, this Teenage Caveman movie at the end, again, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know the end of Teenage Caveman, cover your ears right now or fast forward a little bit, is that it turns out that the whole movie, they're scared of this one monster. And it turns out that the monster was actually a man in a radiation suit, and that the reason why, all these people were cavemen and everything was actually as a result of after, atomic bombs, destroyed the world, and what few humans who were left converted to cavemen, and then the radiation made, whatever lizards and stuff were around into giant monsters. That's where the dinosaurs came from, and that kind of also explains why why they had this stock footage from 1 million BC, because those were all lizards, and so they were actual lizards that mutated and not actual dinosaurs, perhaps we could say. I don't know. I mean, he brings in like some stock footage from from Corman's movie The She Creature, which is really a fantastic suit that he has for that movie, that was made by Paul Blaisdell was his name, who made just some of the most incredible monster suits, of the 50s. And did they really destroy them for how to make a monster? I don't know. It's a question. So anyway, back to these discussions about these monster... Oh, So it turns out it's all in the future, maybe, but then that's what you first hear, and then another narrator comes in and said all this happened a long time ago, so then it's actually the past. Also, that explains why the cavemen speak English, maybe, all these, because, most of these cavemen movies have no dialogue. You look at like 1 million BC, both 1 million years BC, and When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, and all those other movies with no dialogue. And here there was dialogue, and all in English. And why did these cavemen speak English? And maybe that explains it too. But then they say it's actually the past. All right, whatever it is, who knows? It's a silly, dumb movie, but it's a lot of fun. But the point is that I left a comment on YouTube to Tyler Security. Was like, this that you're talking about sounds like Teenage Caveman, but this there are all of these theories of the cyclical nature of human society. Can we fit that into our Jewish faith, and can it fit into a biblical faith? Even if you're not Jewish, can a Christian who believes the Bible is the Word of God have this? Now, most Kabbalistic ideas do biblical roots, it should be noted. So one of the most controversial Kabbalistic ideas, and in general, there is not much controversy in Kabbalah. Kabbalah itself tends to be controversial, but there are very few things that are actually controversial in Kabbalah. And Tzimtzum Lav Kipshuto, is a classic example of controversy in Kabbalah. But another earlier controversial issue is the Sod Hashmitos, the secret of what could be described as the sabbatical cycle. And this is actually hinted to in Midrashim and also in the Bible. That basically God creates and destroys, and that this is just another, this is version, 6.0 or something like that. Like there have been just all these times when creation was tried and destroyed, tried and destroyed, tried. And so it's fascinating that the commentator on the Mishnah, Tiferes Yisrael Lipschitz, which is printed in many versions of Mishnayos, he wrote near his commentary to Maseches Sanhedrin, he wrote a long essay about secrets of the age of the universe and so forth. And around that time were when the first dinosaurs were being classified. Dr. Gideon Mantell discovered the teeth of the iguanodon, and it seems that before that Megalosaurus was also identified, and eventually Sir Richard Owen coined this term Dinosauria to describe these various creatures that he was finding in the fossil record. And at the time that the Tiferes Yisrael was writing, they had not yet coined the term Dinosauria, but they already had classified the Megalosaurus and the Iguanodon, and he mentions them by name, the Tiferes Yisrael. And he says that this points out and proves the Sod Hashmitos, that God created and destroyed worlds time and time again. Now, most people, I remember my own Rosh Hashiva, when I asked him about it, he said, no, this is talking about spiritual worlds and not physical worlds. But yet, many Kabbalists and many could Gedol Israel, including, like we showing here, the Tiferes Israel, understand these statements to be referring to the Sod HaShmitos, that referring to actual physical manifestations on Earth of different worlds that existed, were created, and were destroyed. And so, when you talk about various mass extinction events that paleontologists and geologists describe throughout Earth's history, all of these things fit in well to the Sod HaShmitos, to the secret, the mystery of the sabbatical cycles, that indeed God creates and destroys worlds. And so you have the scientists speak of the Permian extinction as the worst extinction event in history, the biggest extinction event in history, that which demarcated the difference between the end of the Paleozoic era and the beginning of the Mesozoic era, the end of the Permian period and the beginning of the Triassic period. And each of those, the Triassic and the Jurassic and the Cretaceous, each have their own extinction events, both at their end and even within them and inside of them. And then, of course, the end of the Cretaceous is the famous, extinction event that supposedly wiped out the dinosaurs. And then the Cenozoic era hasn't been quite that long, in comparison to the Mesozoic and Paleozoic eras, according to geological time. Still an hour away. We're just about to the GW Bridge. It's going to take an hour in Manhattan. This is such a ridiculous place. Alright. So anyway, I'm so happy I live in the country. So anyway, discuss, the difference between so the scientists will say, and within the Cenozoic era, there were various extinction events. The end of the last ice age, really, at 13,000 years ago. 11,000 years ago, and so forth. Now the thing is that scientists want us to believe. Now, so Rabbi Bar Tzadok, in many of his essays, he discusses these issues, and he says everybody wants to be a fundamentalist. Whether if you're religious, you want to fundamentally believe that God created Adam from the earth, because that's what the Bible literally says, and it happened, and that Adam was the very first human being, and so forth. If you are secular, you want to believe that we evolved from lower life forms. Rabbi Bar Tzadok, based on Kabbalistic texts and biblical texts and Midrashic texts, and particularly this Sod HaShmitos, wants to suggest as follows, that perhaps, and this fits in with this idea of these cyclical nature of human society. Now, the question is, how far back does it go, and so forth. But yes, Adam, we could say, was literally 5,700 years ago, although the dates could be wrong, and there are opinions that the dates that we have are actually wrong. Not off by very much, though. Both, of course, it's well known in the secular world, or the Christian world, not the secular world, I'm sorry. It's well known in the Christian world, but also even in the Jewish world, there are, meaning we live as if it's, now the end of 57, and we're going to 57, 78. But we really don't know precisely the dates, but because we've poskened that that's how it is, that's how it is. There is a metaphysical aspect of the psak halacha that we have. That's neither here nor there. And so therefore we could also say that the flood indeed happened 4,000 years ago as well, that there was another mass extinction event 4,000 years ago, but that Adam himself and the creation of Adam followed such a mass extinction event, meaning that Adam was actually, or even Adam and Eve, or even so forth, they actually were children of another race of humans, and that the difference was that God imbued with Adam a soul and free will that made him and made Adam and Eve different, and their progeny different, and that God wiped out all of the other human species that did exist, the pre-Adamic human species, and that Adam was a new species, and that we as human beings are all this, that Homo sapiens that we know today are all descended from Adam, unequivocally, no matter what race. And even though that was something that people discussed, particularly in Christian circles, particularly in the 1800s, the question of whether or not various races that exist are non-Adamic, but it's a basic belief of Judaism that all human beings are of Adamic origin, meaning that we are all one species, one race, coming from Adam. That's again the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. And yet, before Adam, there were these other races of humans who perhaps, and we might be biologically related to them, but spiritually we're different from them. And these various races were highly advanced, and they were wiped out. And some would say perhaps that even these are where certain spiritual beings originate from, that they had mastered technology of space travel or even of time travel, these other beings, and that certain angels that are mentioned in the Bible, the Ear and the Watchers, were actually in a sense our own biological ancestors or cousins in a certain sense, and things like that. And there are all of these mysteries. So it's quite possible, first of all, that these numbers are also wrong, this 1300 and 1100, but maybe they are correct, but that the event at 1300 would be the creation event, the Adam event, and then the 1100 event would be the flood event, the Noah event. It's something to consider.
In 2 miles, use the left 2 lanes to take the US 9 West exit toward Fletcher Avenue, Fort Lee, I-95, I-80, New Jersey 4, US 46.
That's the way they want me to go? Alright, so all these things could fit in together, and it's quite possible, and so I've spoken too long already. And by now I have reception, I could listen to Glenn back. Alright, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And comment. And let's keep this discussion going. God bless. Have a all the best. Be well.